Greetings and welcome, my friends. This is the Wave, a Simic-based synthesizer deck, taking advantage of some new weapons from Foundations. As is the case with any Simic deck, we don't have much in the way of removals, but we do have a way to defend our life total that can also be used to cripple the opponent's board. We're using Ramp to power out a very strong card that can give us an overwhelming advantage or to turn the tables. Thanks to a particular enchantment, we also have a way of giving one of our attackers trample, something that is badly missing for our Robot Overlords when they go smashing in for damages. We are loaded up on Opt, a quick little card we can use to scry one, then draw a card. It's a great way to get a peek at the top card of our deck when we are on the search for a synthesizer. Later in the game, it's easy to leave a mana open to be able to fire it off to find more ammo. Impulse would also be great in this spot, and that lets you look at the top four and put one in hand, though it is twice the price. 3 Steps Ahead is a very valuable card in any synthesizer deck. It's primarily going to be used as a way to make a token synthesizer at instant speed. But the counterspell option, as well as the draw, could prove to be important under the right circumstances. Cathartic Parting is a cheap way of dealing with opposing artifacts and enchantments, which are all rather popular in the current standard. As a bonus, we get to restock our library with any cards that we deem critical to our success. Hunter's Talent is our piece of removal that we can use to snipe enemy men once we have Robot Overlords on board. By taking this up to level 2, we'll be able to give one of our attacking men trample. Chump blocking our Robot Overlords will not be so easy this time around. At level 3, we get a card draw at the end of each of our turns if we have any men that are power 4 or more, something that should be easy to do. The Synthesizer is our key card. It's a must-have for any synthesizer deck. We'll be looking to getting our factories online as quickly as possible. The sooner we can start generating Robot Overlords, the sooner we can start smashing life totals. The Cornucopia is another piece of ramp that we'll use for the extra mana as well as for a bit of life gain. Another great part about it is that playing it out will trigger any synthesizers we have on board. Every trigger we get is critical. Heaped Harvest is another ramp artifact that will fetch us a basic land when it enters play. For 2 mana, we can sacrifice it to get another land as well as gain 3 life. And of course, this will trigger any synthesizers we have in play when we land it. Genesis Wave is the powerful card we will try to take advantage of by paying as much mana as we can. The bigger the value for X, the more permanents we'll be able to get off the wave. The synthesizer is something we'd like to hit with the wave, or anything that would trigger the synthesizer. Ripping this for X of 7 or more should be GG's. Thanks for coming to the big show. Aetherize is another new weapon we plan to use to save ourselves from attackers while we build up our board. It'll send all attacking men back to their owner's hand, regardless of hexproof or any ward abilities. Against aggressive decks that drop a lot of men early, this will effectively reset them while our board remains untouched. It's not quite a board wipe, but against some players, this will leave them wide open for hits from our Robot Overlords. Extravagant Replication is yet another weapon we plan to leverage against all opponents. With it in play, we'll be able to clone any permanent we have. A synthesizer every turn? Yes, please. Or how about a free cornucopia, or a harvest for the land fetching as well as extra life? The Metamorph is a great card to play alongside the synthesizer, as we can play it out the turn after we've landed a synthesizer to make a copy our factory. The more synthesizers we have in play, the better. Later in the game we can play it out for its full cost, and it'll be a giant 7/7 walking synthesizer. For lands, we've got 4 Yavimaya Coast, the Pain Duel in our colors, 4 Temple of Mystery, the Scry Duel, 3 Restless Vinestalk, the Manland in our colors, 6 Forest, and 7 Islands. Playing the deck is only slightly complicated. Decision points occur when we have a wave in hand, as well as when or if we should use 3 Steps Ahead as a counter or save it for copying a synthesizer. Our early turn should see us using Opt to dig up cards we need and setting up our board with Ramp. Against most decks, we'll want to get Aetherize available as soon as possible. Clearing out enemy men can often buy us 2 or 3 turns. The mid-game is all about building up our board or generating more Robot Overlords to overwhelm the opponent. Use the talent to snipe enemy men that won't get involved in combat, such as Shieldred. Building up for a massive wave can often win the game if we fire it off and hit plenty of our permanents. The replication can be brutal if we're using it to copy a synthesizer every upkeep. Most opponents will scoop when we hit 3 or 4 synthesizers. That's the deck, boys. Let's go play some games.
Do you want to play a game?
This is Net Zero. No, wait, it's Neato. Pretty neato toothpick you got there. We get an auto keep 3-lander with a synthesizer, an opt, and a 3 steps ahead to copy the synthesizer. Keep. We'll start off with the pain land to be able to fire off our opt. Opt means options, and that's what we want early. Taking a point of damage is worth it to get a peek at what we have coming. A replication is amazing, but it's too early to have one in hand. Let's send it on down. Then we draw the 4th land we wanted. It's going to get us a synthesizer copy the turn after we play the synthesizer. GG's, bro. Our scry land shows us a cornucopia on top, and we'll hang on to it. It'll trigger the synthesizer. And that's exactly what we want to be doing. Bro has 0 plays through his 2nd turn. We don't even have to try to buy time. This is our synthesizer turn. We'll play it out and take a look at our top 2 cards. Both are lands and we have to ship them. We already have 2 in hand, and what we need is more ways to trigger our synthesizer. We played a synthesizer and bro still isn't interested in playing any cards. Time is ticking, bro. You're going to want some blockers soon. We have an Aetherize on top, thanks to our scry land. We'll keep it, since I'd rather be ready for any men on the other side than be without it. Is that it? They have a handful of removals and they're going to snipe every Robot Overlord that shows up? They play out a Dark Knight. Now we could counter it and draw a pair of cards, or we could let it through and copy our synthesizer instead. In the end, advancing our board sounds like a better plan than trying to slow them down. All right, let's copy up. We have a Metamorph on top that we'll keep. It's yet another copy of our synthesizer, but we'll ship the land. The Metamorph comes on down, and let's take a look at our top 2 cards. That's another 3 steps ahead, and another synthesizer. We're keeping both. We're going to take the pressure up a notch. Prepare your shorts, bro. For a staining. We'll follow up with our talent. We're not even going to give them the option to block. We want our hits, and we want them now. That's right. Damages, bro. Damages. They're going to need 2 blockers. One is not going to cut it. That or a pair of removals that can hit artifact men. Bro, a 5 mana removal for one guy isn't going to cut it. GG's, bro. This is Dr. Esden with 99 Loof Balloons. No, wait, it's Dresden. My bad, bro. We get a 3-lander with double Cornucopia, an Aetherize, and a Parting. We have a scry land, which could be clutch. Keep your pants. On. The 1 land we hate to see are Azorius lands, and that's exactly what the opponent played out. Great. Just great. We'll play out our scry land and check out our top card. It's a talent, but they might not be loaded with men, and we won't have men until we get a synthesizer. Let's send it on down. Looks like they're a creature enchantment deck, and maybe doors. We draw our key card and we'll be able to play out on our next turn. This turn, we'll use Parting to send their enchantment packing. They'll have to draw it again and play it out. A Goblin Tamer is their play this turn. Enchantments will be their weapon, but all their men will be rather small. They decide to get the party started by playing out a protection enchantment to generate a 1/1. That's beautiful, bro. Fantastic party trick. Let there be synthesizer. And now let's check out what we've got on top. Our party is definitely going to keep rolling along. We'll send the land on down. They're going all out with doors, rooms, and little men multiplying like they've been sharing a room. Usually we'd land the synthesizer, but they've got way too many men over there. Let's take a moment to pause and think about how beautiful putting their men back in their hand is going to look. They play out a creeper, a very solid card. That's nice, bro. Tell me more. And they do us the favor of tapping out. Oopsie poopsie, bro. Should have kept some mana open. Greed, move 101. Don't go for the greed move, boys. Bless their heart. They send it like they're getting in some big damages, but it's a clearance sale on now at Dresden's, and all men are going for cheap. We'll play out a Cornucopia first. That will give us the mana to drop the second synthesizer. It's likely they'll only be attacking in with the creeper from here on out, and it's a wee bit too small to win it by himself. We get a metamorph and a land on top. We'll take the land first, as that will give us the mana to play out our entire hand on our next turn. Sure enough, they send in the creeper. With Cornucopia, their creeper won't be able to get us, and they won't be able to generate enough blockers. We'll play out the Cornucopia and send in our Robot Overlords. They're hungry for men, and we're about to eat some of their guys. They send in the creeper for what could be the last time. Next time they have to make it a copy of one of their men, and it won't be unblockable. Now we'll go ahead and make a copy of a synthesizer. The Robot Overlords are coming. They want opponent flesh. With only 3 men to block, we'll be able to get through with 3 of our men. It's GG's whether they like it or not. Big damages were inbound. GG's, bro. Extra cheese. This is Chest Y Pull ER. That's an odd-looking bottle of rum. Can I get a sip, bro? We kick this one off with a 4-lander that's got all the goodies, synthesizer, a way to copy it, and something to trigger them both and get Robot Overlords cranking out the factories. And on top of that, we get to go first, keep. There is no way they could be playing the same deck as us. No way. We draw another synthesizer copy. We're either going to crush this game or they're going to have all artifact removals. Maybe their big men stomp. That's a mana guy they landed. Anyways, our synthesizer is the play here. Let's get it down and we'll be on our way to spitting out Robot Overlords. On top we have a metamorph and an opt. Let's keep both, but let's get the opt first. It'll be great after we've drawn the metamorph. They play out a blue overlord, but our overlords are better. Their overlord might not make it in time to save their life. We're not sure if they'll be playing counters, so we'll go ahead and play out the Cornucopia now to make sure we get a Robot Overlord in play. but ideally we'd be making a token copy of the synthesizer before playing out the cornucopia. They decide to make their own luck, which could work out great for them, or it could be a big miss. Let's see what they get. I guess that's fine depending on what they have in their deck. They are tapped out, so we'll go ahead and make a token copy. Let's not give them a 3/3 synthesizer that they might be able to snipe. On top, we have a wave and another opt. It's too soon for a wave since we don't have the mana for a tsunami, only gentle shore wave. Thanks to being tapped out, they can do nothing but eat the damages. Eat them like a pie. Okay, here we go. They fire off their magic trick. Let's see what's on the cards for us. Those are all awful, bro. Mostly lands and a cane. When you're old and gray, you're gonna want a cane too, boys. They play out a green overlord for the full price. That's a big, beefy blocker, but it's going to look so tiny when we swing in. Now is when we'll play out the walking synthesizer. Let's check out what we got on top. A land and a talent. We'll keep the talent, as it's a great way to eliminate a blocker, but the land can go on down. They give up and let the damages through. GG's, bro. This is Joe Dad Die in 1981. Sorry for Joe's loss, bro. Keep your chin up. We get the dreaded Shuffler special with a synthesizer, but mostly top-end cards. I get lucky sometimes, but let's not push our luck. Mull. Then we get a 2-lander with a much lower curve and plays we can manage as long as we find a third. Unlike your last X, this is a keeper. We'll send the Metamorph on down as it's our most expensive card. We have a 3 steps ahead to copy the synthesizer. Unbelievable. They fire off a Dreams of Steel and Oil, and they'll be able to snipe our synthesizer before we can even play it. That's an ugly draw. With only 2 lands, a wave is not the card we want to see pop up. Let's opt and check out what we've got on top. That's a 3rd land. We'll keep it. On the bright side, we've drawn a couple of lands, and at some point we might be able to launch a wave for 3 or more. The tiny Bronco joins their side. It could end up being rather painful for us if they've built their deck right. But we have a Cornucopia to recover some life. That's an expensive card had they flipped it over with their tiny Bronco. They send the Snake Horse in for damages, but unsaddled, they'll have to take the first bite from their own men's fangs. They send themselves on down to 15. Thanks for the help, bro. We draw a replication, but once again, it's a bit too early for our mid to late game cards. At least we can do some ramping and gain a touch of life as well. They play out the Dread Knight without using it to draw, even though they're stuck on lands. They'll saddle up, then send it. All that's left is to see how much extra damage we'll take from the Snakebite. And that's a land, so 0 damages. But nice try, bro. At least they've gotten themselves out of their 3-land jam. We have just enough mana to play out the replication. We can use it to copy the Cornucopia and build up our mana for the wave. They land a big booty archfiend. If you like them hairy and scary, that's what you go for. They use the Dread Knight to saddle their tiny Bronco. But what they should have done was use the Fiend instead and send in the Dread Knight along with the Bronco for a guaranteed 5 damages. Oopsie poopsie, bro. The Snake Horse reveals a Duress, which is likely going to take out our wave. At the moment, we can only do a wave for 4. We get a Scry land, and we get a peek at our top card. And that turns out to be an Aetherize, which is alright. They've got a loaded board, and it could be rather useful. It might be able to buy us some time. For this turn, we'll send their enchantment packing. We'll decline to shuffle the Opt back in, so we won't lose the Aetherize on top. There's the Duress we knew was coming. Luckily, we can counter it and draw as well. We draw a Harvest along with the Aetherize, but the Wave and the Protection spell are more important. Bro sets up for a big hit and activates a manland. That's 12 plus whatever the tiny Bronco coughs up. Let's hang on to our pants. We might be done here. It all depends on what the Snake Horse flips over. And that's a 1 mana card. We still have a chance. We draw an Opt, let's fire it off right away and check out what we've got coming up. And that is a Synthesizer, ladies and Sharkmen. At long last, we've got one of our factories. We've got the mana to play it out and have enough for the Aetherize. Let's get this done. We'll be dropping the hammer on them. On top, we've got a Cornucopia and a land. We'll ship the land. The Cornucopia could still be useful, as we'll be using the replication to make synthesizers from here until the game ends. Alright, bro, this is where you activate a manland and send everything in. This could be very juicy. They go for the activation. The Dread Knight will be the only one of their men left. Now is the time to launch this Aetherize. Get bit, mate. Take it like a champ. Do what now? They sniped their own guy, the only one that was going to be left on the board. Oopsie poopsie, bro. It's time for our wave. Depending on what we get, the wave could change the way this game has gone. Catch the wave, bro. That's another replication along with a pair of lands and another cornucopia. Not the blockbuster wave we would have liked, but this will do. We've got enough mana to play out the cornucopia we have in hand and get more synthesizer triggers. They're going to need a board wipe or 5 blockers. And we'll be getting another pair of synthesizers during our upkeep. And that does the trick. They are outmanned, outgunned, and out-robot overlorded. GG's, bro. This is Tony. No, wait, it's Ton I. Welcome to the big show. We get a 3-lander with some ramp, an opt, and a talent, along with a replication. We have a scry land as well to smooth out our draws. It's not the best, but it could be a lot worse. Keep your pants on. On top, we have a 3 steps ahead. We like it. You had to know they were going to be discard. We've got a long way to go before we can play out the replication, so we'll let it go. They go for a discard rat, so we'll take the moment to opt and see what we've got coming up. That's an Aetherize, and we won't want to play that out against them. Let's send it on down. We got the Aetherize anyways. Nice. Thanks, Shuffler. We'll toss the Aetherize we just drew. We won't want to fire it off. Let's ramp this turn against discard. We don't have much card draw, so the best thing to do is be sure we can play out the cards we draw. They play out a toxic guy, which is confusing. Are they discard toxic? What kind of concoction is this? We draw a metamorph, but it's kind of an awkward draw as the only thing we could copy is the harvest. Well, it would be more ramp. Plus, we'd have a guy in play to be able to use the talent to snipe one of their men. They snipe our metamorph, but use a removal that makes us sacrifice it. So we'll get another land. We're getting rather weak draws. A cornucopia will at least give us a bit of life. Not that we're being pressured. They go for a Jisa, but we've got a 3 steps ahead. We can't let that land or we'll be done. We'll counter and draw. We draw a synthesizer and replication. If we can get both down, we'll be able to turn the tables on the opponent. A wave would be nice, but we know they have a ruthless negotiation on the way. We'll prioritize the synthesizer and the replication. Predictable. We'll let the wave go since the replication will get us a synthesizer on every single one of our upkeeps. We'll get the replication down, and now they'll need enchantment removal, or it's GG's. They are not going to be able to keep up with a pile of synthesizers. They get a Vraska that could increase the amount of poison we get every turn. It's going to turn into a race between our Robot Overlords and the poison count. The great thing about the replication is that it triggers before we draw, so we'll be able to scry and set up our draws. We have double lands on top, and both have to go. We draw a scry land, and we'll check out our top card. That's another land, so we had 4 lands in a row on top. They use Vraska to take care of our Robot Overlord, but they won't be able to do that again next time. We'll have 2 Robot Overlords and Vraska can't use her abilities twice. Doesn't it suck when your discard cards don't do anything? Suck it, bro. Suck it like sucking is good. Tiny Bones takes our talent, but it won't do them any good, since they'll need green mana to level it up. The scry shows us yet another land on top and an opt. We'll hang on to the opt, but the land has to go. Our opt shows us a metamorph on top, and we'll gladly draw it. This will get us another 3 Robot Overlords. They'll need to pull a miracle out of their pants. We're stockpiling our lands on the bottom of the deck. You're going to want to play out more blockers. 3 men is not going to get the job done. More discard is also very pointless. That is definitely not more blockers. It's starting to feel like GG's around here. This setup is so unfair if they can't do anything to get rid of it. They fire off a removal, should have brought more discard instead, bro. Smell you later. GG's, extra cheese. And that, my friends, is another satisfied customer.